I'm going to talk to you about the unlikely pilgrimage of Harold Fry, 2023. This was a good film to watch and appealed to me, especially as an avid walker. About 10 years ago, I remember my mum talking about a story she'd read about a chap who left his suburban home in South Hams in Devon to post a letter, and he ended up walking across England to Berwick-on-Tweed. My first thought was, how did he manage to keep safe? There aren't pavements or a footway for a lot of the journey, and some main roads are narrow and very busy. There are footpaths, of course, and people do walk from Land's End to John O'Groat, the extremities to the southwest and northeast of Great Britain, 874 miles, and I guess a lot of that is on coastal paths. I loved watching George Ezra's 2021 documentary, End to End. I mentioned that a few months ago. One day I'd love to do it myself. It would take some serious planning though. However, Harold Fry, Jim Broadbent, doesn't do this. He gets a letter postmarked from the English-Scottish border town, and it informs him that Queenie, an old friend and colleague, is dying in a hospice. And after responding, he sets off with an envelope telling his wife Maureen, played by Penelope Wilton, that he is just going to the postbox. When he gets there, he hesitates and he decides to walk out of the town into the countryside. At a petrol station shop, he speaks with a young woman who sympathises when he mentions the plight of Queenie. She tells him about an aunt who hung on to hope, and this story really inspires him. So he continues walking, and he rings Maureen from a phone box to tell her he's going to Berwick. That's about 470 miles. Have you been drinking? She retorts. Where does he sleep though? Where does he buy enough food to keep him going? He does have a credit card because at a later stage he posts it back, but somehow he has the wherewithal to sustain him even though he's walked out of the house in the clothes he was wearing that day, and he just keeps going, not changing your shoes and socks and all your clothes from day to day. That must be tough. A young girl tells him he smells, so he washes in streams. I spotted a date on a newspaper, October 2021. It's getting quite cold and autumnal at that time of year, obviously, but he walks through all that the British weather throws at him, and he gets bad blisters and other injuries. People react with kindness usually, and when he collapses, a doctor lets him stay overnight after confiscating his shoes, and she gives him a health checkup, which is lovely. A farmer asks if he has offspring, and when he answers that he brought up a son, she says that it's important for a man so he doesn't feel like the end of the line. He has many encounters with well-meaning people during the journey, and at a point he gets press coverage and becomes a celebrity, and others are attracted to join with him. There's quite a carnival festival atmosphere. Over time we find out Harold's backstory, including some of the family tragedy he's endured, such as the suicide of a loved one. The film has an affirming quality about it though. It does deal with difficult contemporary problems such as the addiction to pills and how some people lose their way in our society. I like the coverage of how Maureen copes, left all alone at home, and initially she denies that Harold has gone AWOL when a friendly neighbour inquires. There are some lovely observations, such as when a young man joins him on the walk and expresses fear over the sounds of nocturnal wildlife when they are overnighting in the woods. Harold responds that he feels less worried out in the open. I sort of get that. It must be a punishing ordeal though, but long distance walking is really cathartic. And during Mental Health Awareness Week, it is something to consider doing more of if you're able to. And as Miles Dyer said on his live stream this week, every week ought to be Mental Health Awareness Week. It should be all year round. It is something I think is worth considering doing more of if you're able to. Walking, exercise in general, if you can do it, it is really good for your mental and physical health. This film gets a score of 8.5 from me. I absolutely love the observations of life in England in the 21st century, all the quirks. If I found enough time, I'd be very tempted to read the book that the film is based on. I really did enjoy it. I almost went to see it a second time with a friend. It was just that the screen times weren't ideal. I'd have loved to have seen it all over again, and I think I will when it appears on the streaming services. So if you've seen the film, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.